Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. Now, in last time's video, we talked about formatting a musical script, and right at the end, I mentioned something about Sondheim, and that was that everything is in the service of clarity. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Sondheim's golden rules and what I've been able to learn from Sondheim to make my musicals better. So let's jump into it. Okay, now I have recently purchased Sondheim's books. The first one I have here, it's called Finishing the Hat, and he has a second volume, which I don't have with me right now, called Look, I Made a Hat. And basically they are all of his musicals, all of the lyrics printed in them, and his, it says here, with attendant comments, principles, hairseas, grudges, wines, and anecdotes. So all of his kind of thoughts about what he's written. So I'm starting at the start, 1954. The first one is Saturday Night. But at the very beginning, he mentions his, what I call sometimes golden rules. I don't know if that's what he calls them, but we're just going to take a look and I'm going to talk to you a bit about these rules. Okay, so here we have written in the preface here, the 3 rules. And it says here, in no particular order and to be written in stone, content dictates form, less is more, God is in the details, all in the service of clarity. So there are 3 things, all in the service of clarity. So if we go into each one just a little bit more, just briefly, we've got content dictates form. So what you're writing about determines how you write about it. So the example that Sondheim I've heard give multiple times in interviews and in this book itself is in West Side Story, when Maria says, alarming, how charming I feel, and Sondheim says, looking back, I wanted to be clever, I wanted to show that I could write a good lyric, it's a good lyric, but the character Maria, she's Puerto Rican, she's, lower class, less educated, would she really say something like, alarming, how charming I feel? Probably not. So he says that it's important to look at the characters, who they are, what kind of words they use, how they would speak, and to use that information to inform how you write. And Sondheim's talking in regards to lyrics here, but I believe that it is totally relevant for music as well. So if you're writing about a construction site, the music that you want to use for that scene is, you want it to be construction-y. It's like in Frozen, a lot of the music has that beautiful Norwegian, like, icy influence with the pickaxes. Everything should be informed by what you are actually writing about. So if you haven't considered this point, it might be a good idea to go away and look at the content of what you're writing about. Make a list of some things that could be influences for your music, whether it's where it's set, what kind of sounds would be in the environment, the way that you would say the lyrics. You can write shapes of how you would say them in speaking and then translate that shape into a melody. That's kind of a whole separate thing, but all of these things dictate the form, the way that you write it, how you write it. Now, the second one is less is more. And what Sondheim talks about is that when you're listening to a song or a lyric, there is a set time that you have to intake that information. So he compares it to poetry. Whereas poetry, you can read it at any speed you want. You can read it, and it's kind of designed to be gone over again and again and again, and to analyze it, and you can intake that info in whatever time you like. So poetry is usually really dense. There's a lot of meaning there. There's a lot crammed in to words, lines, Whereas if you're listening to a song, depending on the tempo of the song, you've only got, oh, there it's gone. So you've only got a certain amount of time to process the information as a listener or as an audience member. So if you try and cram too much into each line, the audience is going to miss it. Not because we're underestimating the audience, like the audience is pretty good, but it's just kind of like a physics thing, like they've only got so much time to process so much information, so don't worry about putting too much in there. It doesn't have to be too dense, it doesn't have to be pumped full of stuff. Sometimes beauty comes in simplicity, and the ear hears something that's crisp and that it's, it's just great. So don't worry about being simple or having less, because less is more if it's done right. So it's got to be done well. And the third point is God is in the details. And this comes down to, when you do less is more, make sure that the less is detailed. And it's all sorts of little things. So don't just worry about the end word of each line and going, okay, I've got to rhyme A, B, B, A, whatever. It's not just about the last word of a lyric or a line. It's about the whole line. It's about how it feels. It's about how the consonants run off each other. It's about, can you include any internal rhymes within the lines? How can you paint a picture using the line? There's so much artistry and so much craft within the line itself, as opposed to just that end word that you want to get to rhyme. So God is absolutely in the details, and all is in the service of clarity. And I really, really love this. And this is the most important part that has helped me the most. And I love the word service. So all of these things are in the service of clarity. They should be serving clarity. And the whole point is that you want to tell this story, right? So if the audience, it's not clear to them, then it's kind of like, what's the point? Yeah, it can be arty and it can be all, ooh, but if it's not clear to them, then there is no point. You want to get across this story. So it's really important that everything is clear and that you really read over your scripts and read over your lyrics as a first-time listener. And I know this can be really, really hard when you've spent so much time with a script to see it with fresh eyes. So sometimes it can be a good idea to get other people's information or to get people to read it and say, did you understand this? Did you understand this? That is a really important thing to ask. Did this make sense to you? And to try and go back in and see, how clear can I make it? How clear can I make it? So this has been Sondheim's golden rules. Content dictates form, less is more, God is in the details, all in the service of clarity, which for me is the most important thing, I would say. And this has really helped me. There's been so much more useful information in these books as well, so I definitely recommend them. Let me know down in the comments what your golden rule is. Do you have one thing that kind of overarches everything that you do, that you go, as long as I'm doing this one thing? Maybe you have 3 like Sondheim. Let me know. I'll see you next time.